Welcome! Today, we're digging into a really significant shift in U.S. foreign policy. This is all about a high-stakes reset, and it involves two of America's most important allies in West Asia, Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Okay, so let's get right into the heart of it. The key to this whole new playbook is a concept they're calling dehyphenation. For years, the U.S. strategy was kind of linked, like a triangle. Its relationship with Saudi Arabia was almost always seen through the lens of its alliance with Israel. Well, now Washington is changing course, moving to a direct strategy with two separate, independent relationships. And let's be clear, this isn't just some minor diplomatic adjustment. We're talking about a fundamental change. The United States is basically saying it's ready to deepen its alliance with Saudi Arabia, all on its own, without making it conditional on Riyadh normalizing relations with Israel first. Now, to really understand why this is such a huge deal, we've got to rewind a bit and look at the recent history between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. And believe me, calling it a roller coaster is putting it mildly. This timeline really just lays out the whiplash, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. After the murder of Jamal Khashoggi in 2018, things got really cold. Then, during the 2020 campaign, we heard promises to make Saudi Arabia a pariah. But just 2 years later, we get that now famous fist bump, a clear signal that things were warming up. And today, it's all evolved into an official policy reset. It's an incredibly fast pivot. And this really gets to a core truth about this relationship that's been going on for over half a century. Despite these moments of massive strain, like the Khashoggi murder, the distrust after 9/11, or even going way back to the 1973 oil shock, the U.S.-Saudi partnership has always been anchored in geopolitics and energy interests. It's never really been about shared values or human rights records. So if this relationship is so strategic, what was the problem? Well, the old American plan, the big one, was to bring Saudi Arabia into this landmark agreement called the Abraham Accords. The idea was to totally reshape the region. Right? The Abraham Accords. This was the deal that saw countries like the UAE and Bahrain normalize their ties with Israel. The goal was pretty simple, but super ambitious. Get America's closest allies in the region on the same page. And getting Saudi Arabia, the heavyweight of the Arab world, to sign on? Well, that would have been the grand prize. But just when it seemed like a deal was within reach, everything came to a screeching halt. And things were really looking up. In September 2023, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman himself said a deal was getting closer every day. But then came the October 7th attack by Hamas and the devastating war in Gaza that followed. It didn't just stop the momentum, it completely shattered. This quote right here perfectly explains the new reality. It's Riyadh's non-negotiable condition. So normalization with Israel, it's still on the table, but the price has gone way up. Now it requires what they call a credible, irreversible path to a two-state solution. That means an independent Palestinian state. And that's a condition that Israel's current government is dead set against, which, creates a total deadlock. Okay, so with that grand peace deal completely stuck, the U.S. has decided to pivot. It seems like Washington isn't willing to let its entire strategy for the region be held hostage by this one issue. So it's moving forward with a new approach. One that bypasses normalization for now and focuses directly on beefing up its own ties with Riyadh. So what it really boils down to is a strategic calculation by the U.S. The benefits of having a strong, direct partnership with Riyadh are just too important to put on hold. We're talking about everything from selling advanced military gear and keeping energy markets stable, to countering other powers in the region and giving Saudi Arabia access to really critical tech, like advanced computer chips, for all of its ambitious development plans. So what does all this mean for the region? Well, the geopolitical implications are huge. By dehyphenating these policies, the U.S. is pretty clearly prioritizing its own strategic alignment with Saudi Arabia over Israel's preferences for how things should go. It sends a really powerful message that, yeah, Israel is a key ally, but Washington is going to pursue its own interests with other major players independently. At the end of the day, this is just a pragmatic pivot. The U.S. has taken a hard look at the region, at all its complexities. It's recognized the deadlock over the Palestinian issue and Israel's current stance, and it's decided to build a stronger, independent relationship with Riyadh to push its own interests forward. And for the rest of us, this decision affects everything from the price of gas to the balance of power in a very volatile part of the world. And that really is the multi-billion-dollar question this new policy leaves us with, isn't it? Is this a brilliant stroke of pragmatic diplomacy that's going to secure American interests for the long haul? Or does putting strategy ahead of everything else actually create even bigger risks down the road? It's a massive gamble. And honestly, the stability of a critical region is hanging in the balance.